Hello, welcome to the weekly outlook here at xm.com. I'm Rafi Barjan, and with me is my colleague Marius Hadjikyriacos. So Marius, we saw significant escalation in trade tensions in the past week. We saw the dollar coming under pressure earlier in the week, but it did manage to recover later on. We did have a fair bit of data coming out of the US that was broadly on the positive side, so that potentially helped the greenback recover. Of course, the other main driver was safe haven flows. What should be looking out for in the coming week that could have an impact on the greenback?
So the main event over in the US will be the release of the Fed minutes from the latest policy meeting on Wednesday. Now, if you remember back then, Chairman Powell was much more confident and, let's say, optimistic than markets had been expecting. He downplayed the prospect of a rate cut. He said that the recent shortfall in inflation is transitory. And I believe that the minutes are likely to echo that sort of neutral to optimistic tone, particularly since this meeting took place much before the latest escalation in trade tensions. So overall, market pricing now points to one full rate cut being priced in before the end of the year. This is quite pessimistic in terms of the market. So if we do get neutral minutes or a neutral tone in the minutes, that could push back against that pricing, and that may benefit the dollar as well.
And of course, other currency that's been benefiting from all these tensions is the Japanese yen. It's one of the best performance in the past week. Is there anything coming up next week that could potentially lead to a bit of a paring back of those gains for the Japanese yen?
So this is actually the first indicator of the week. Early on Monday, we will get preliminary GDP data for Q1 from Japan. The forecast is for a slight contraction in the economy, mainly on the back of weakness in exports and industrial production. Overall, it seems that the trade war and the broader global economic slowdown has started to take its toll on Japan's economy. Remember that Japan is very reliant on exports and therefore on foreign demand. But in any case, what's important for the yen is not economic data. Far more important is the risk appetite. And in that sense, I think that we are in for another round of escalation in US-China trade tensions. Trump is already threatening more tariffs, and while he may not pull the trigger at the end on that, he will definitely threaten to play that card. So I think we're likely to see risk aversion linger, and therefore I believe the risks surrounding the yen are tilted to the upside, even if we do get some weak data in the coming week.
Okay, that's interesting. Now let's go though from the best performance to the worst, which was of course sterling. We had Theresa May finally indicating that she will probably be stepping down once her Brexit deal is put to a fourth and final vote in Parliament early in June. Is there anything in the next week that could potentially lend a helping hand for the pound?
Well, I don't know about the helping hand, but we do get on Wednesday and on Friday, we get inflation and retail sales data. But in general, the pound doesn't really react to economic data nowadays. What's far more important is politics. Like you mentioned, Theresa May is ready to step down, and now the question becomes who replaces her. Now, in that sense, next week we have European Parliament elections, and the Conservatives, Theresa May's Conservatives, are polling very badly, so they're expected to have a very poor showing in these elections. If that happens, then that could raise the pressure on the Conservatives themselves to replace May with someone who is much more hawkish on Brexit, someone who wants to deliver Brexit in October no matter the cost, right? So if we do see the Conservatives have a poor showing, that could increase the risk of a no-deal Brexit happening, and therefore I believe the pound could stay under pressure for a little bit longer.
Okay, and of course those European elections also pose a risk for the euro, particularly everyone will be watching what's going to be happening in Italy, especially if Italians elect Eurosceptics to the European Parliament. But is there anything else we should be watching out for regarding the Eurozone that could have some impact on the single currency?
So we do get preliminary European PMIs for the month of May next week. I think that's probably going to be the most important event, let's say data release rather, for the Forex market. Remember, the euro has been under selling pressure over the past few quarters, mainly on the back of weakness in growth. Now, the forecasts are for a rebound in these PMIs, a slight one, but I think that those may be overly optimistic forecasts. The point being that we saw trade tensions escalate quite severely recently. That may have also taken its toll on European business sentiment, and we may see that reflected in the PMIs. So I believe that the risks surrounding the euro may also be tilted to the downside.
Okay, we just will be watching the PMI data next week. So Marius, thank you very much for your analysis today. Thank you everyone for watching, and have a great day.